Okay, good. Right, we can start, right? We can start, yeah? Huh? Okay, I won't make you say good morning, but good morning. I read the sessions and it says at the top, prepare yourself for a full day of learning. And then they put me as the first session. Like, okay, interesting. I was told this morning when I came in, before my first thing that I met Rob. He's the weirdo that does the talks on Node. And he says, "Oh, I'm sick of motivational talks." I said, "Oh dear." So I'll just make you all pissed off at yourselves instead of motivate. But anyway. So my name is Hadi, and my talk here is called Prima Donna. Anybody seen this talk before? Okay. Right, a couple of new slides, namely the first one. That's it. It was called Please Be Welcome last time. Okay, so just to set your expectations, today is a very good day of learning. You're going to learn about asymptotic algorithms and Node and a whole bunch of things. In this talk, you're not going to learn about anything. It's just kind of me being pissed off at the community, at the world, and currently at Spain also. So it's just my rants. So don't go and put in a red card, and say I didn't actually learn anything. I'm setting your expectations. If you're not happy with this session, I normally say to people there are other sessions you could go to. You can apply the law of 2 feet, which is get out now. But now you're shit out of luck, right? There's nothing else to go to. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm a developer. I work at a company called JetBrains as a technical evangelist. And we do stuff. Sweden is, I guess, one of our biggest. Although I'm not sure, is this Sweden or Denmark? Ow, ouch. Ouch. Sweden is one of our biggest customer base. Everybody knows here JetBrains, right? You see, you should be up here doing the motivational speaking, not me. So today I'm not a developer, because today I'm a little bit pissed off at developers, but I've done everything that I've said on this slide. Someone said to me, like, you're always criticizing us, but you keep saying you do the same things yourself. I said, yeah, but that's why I'm allowed to criticize, right? This is my little baby. When he was like 2 months old or so, I took that picture. He's actually, today is his 8th month birthday, so he's pissed off at me now. Really, literally, for being here. But anyway, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you guys. Okay, so after this one, there was a slide about another guy, and nobody knew that other guy, so I just took it out. But you remember this guy, right? Yeah, the worst mistake that Microsoft ever did. No, or Steve Ballmer, the CEO. There's another guy called Steve Sinofsky. How many of you know Steve Sinofsky? Oh, you see, I should have put that slide back in. Yeah, this is Sweden. I keep forgetting. We've got the top-notch people over here, right? I'm just kissing up a little bit so that I get the good grades, okay? So there was apparently a riffraff. Now, this is rumors that there was riffraff between Sinofsky and Ballmer, well, the .NET guys, and apparently Sinofsky won in the end. And, well, won, yeah. Well, we're going to get Surface tomorrow. Developers. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but it doesn't matter, because it's all good. I said the slide is empty. No expectations. Developers. Visual Studio. Developers, or a misunderstood society. I mean, we are misunderstood. I mean, some of my colleagues I talk to, and I've been a developer for many, many years myself, and I don't understand them myself. My friend actually said that developers are we're a bunch of insecure bandwagon jumping divas with short attention spans, which I thought was kind of accurate, if you think about it. These are developers. If you remember these developers back in the old days, remember these? This is a funny developer. I had a meeting at our company by the sales department, and he was talking about developers, and he put this up as a picture, saying, this is what you are for me in my eyes. This is how I picture you. So it was one sales guy in a room of 10 developers saying that we look like this. To a point, it's true, right? There was a time that we did look like this. Some of us still do. But there's this guy, and there's this guy. And this is actually funny, because this is from a movie. I don't know if any of you have watched this. It's called Erlang, Declarative Real-Time Programming Now. This is a real movie. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. At some point, you don't know whether it's actually a spoof that, you know, John Cleese is going to pop up at some point. It's like a Monty Python sketch, or is it a real movie? But it's a real movie. They're talking to you about Erlang. And I don't know. I mean, even as a developer, I'm not attracted to that, the way they're coming across with Erlang. But anyway, it's interesting to watch. Of course, we've had Hollywood representations of this. How many of you are old enough to know this guy? I'm seeing more white hair in the room, you know. Yeah, well, this guy, this is Revenge of the Nerds. You might remember this guy, of course. This is more recent. We've been portrayed in Hollywood as well, right? I mean, we're now into the, we're hot, right? Now we're hot, not literally, but we are hot. We're the hot topic. We're the developers. We're the next generation that's going to make the world a better place. And then, of course, I have normal, regular developers. These are pictures of colleagues, friends, people that asked me to put their picture up on there. When I asked on Twitter, can you send me a bunch of developers? And the first time I did this conference at NDC, I got a comment on Twitter from a developer saying, stereotyping developers as male. And I said, well, actually, no. I asked on Twitter, can you send me a picture of yourself? So I put it on a slide, and only men sent me a picture. So without permission, although I know Kelly, I said, Kelly, I'm going to stick your picture on there so that people don't think I'm stereotyping. But these are regular developers that look like you, look like me, and except Shistov over here, he's special. And actually, you know who that guy is? Who knows who that guy is? How many of you use ReSharper? So he's the guy behind ReSharper. He's the product manager for ReSharper. He's the one that comes up with all the features. He's the one that also decided to remove regions finally in 7.1 by default. We tend to classify, we tend to stereotype. If we're talking about stereotyping developers, we tend to, right? We have the enterprise developers, which is kind of like the vanilla of ice cream. Yeah? I mean, as boring as it gets, right? How many of you are enterprise developers? Pretty much everyone, right? Just some people still don't know what enterprise is, but it's not when you get like 10 developers, then you become an enterprise developer. How many of you create software for business? Right, put all your hands down. How many of you are game developers? Yeah, well, okay, there's Rob. Let me rephrase the question. How many of you are game developers that actually get paid for developing games? There you go. Okay. So we're all kind of doing business enterprise development, right? We're all plain vanilla. Then we have the hipsters, which if you look on Wikipedia, this is what a hipster looks like. That is the exact definition of a hipster. How many hipsters here? You're a multifaceted guy, aren't you, Rob? Then we have SharePoint, or where development really goes to die. And I have a friend, his name is Sahil. Actually, his picture used to be there, and he says to me the other day, he's like, stop putting my picture there, it's bad publicity. Okay, I'm trying to make you famous, but you don't want me to, okay. And he said to me, he said the other day, he said, I don't know if I'm a SharePoint developer or a SharePoint debugger. Because all I do is debug SharePoint, right? So SharePoint is where development goes to die, but you get quite rich, and you get to play with lists, apparently. Because in SharePoint, everything is a list. And they say that with pride, as if it's a good thing. Yes, in Lisp, yes, okay, it's an advanced language, but not SharePoint. Well, Lisp has lists, so do we. Yeah, okay. But Microsoft actually caught wind on this hipster movement and said, okay, well, what we're going to do is when we launch our meetazure.com website, we're going to put a picture of a hipster on there, right? Because this is as hipster as it gets. You get something that resembles roughly a cheap imitation of a MacBook, and you get a blue hat. So you're a hipster, okay? So now we're all hipsters. And then, of course, there is the ninja developers. How many ninjas here? Okay. And that only occurs in our profession, right? Right? You don't get Joe the Ninja plumber. Or you don't get Joe the Ninja doctor. And I'm a ninja brain surgeon. Yeah. But apparently it's good to be ninjas nowadays. So, and then there's the Hollywood effect, right? Which is, everyone wants to be a rock star developer. Right? We only hire rock star developers. And then there's an article saying, no, you shouldn't hire rock star developers, they're too expensive. What is a rock star developer? I don't know, but one of it comes from Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter? That's good, right? Twitter is great. Yes? Really? Nah. Someone said the other day, they're like, oh, yeah, social media is good because this company knows how to do social media. No, this company knows how to, in public, not look bad and give someone something free so that they don't look bad. That's called public blackmail. But anyway, we'll call it social media. And social media, with Twitter, you get to start to bring on your followers, right? So you start with 5 followers, then 10 followers, then 100 followers, then 200 followers, 3,000 followers. Holy damn. Am I allowed to say shit here? Doesn't matter. I've got 3,000 followers, and I've only been doing this for like 2 years at an average of 48,000 tweets. Well, I'm pretty good. Yeah, but look at that guy. He's got 12,000 followers, and he's only tweeted 100 times. But okay, I'll start to build up, and I've got now 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. I must be someone important. I have 60,000 followers, right? I must have something interesting to say. Otherwise, why would 60,000 people be following me? Okay, take away the 58,000 that are bots. Why would 2,000 people be following me? I mean, there must definitely be something interesting that I'm saying. My opinion is valued, yeah? This is Big Ben. He says bong, right? Every couple of hours he says bong, and then he says bong bong, and then he says bong bong bong. This was back in June. He had something like, 226,000 followers, because obviously no one has a clock on their system, so they need this to know that it's 12 o'clock. And if you don't like him, there's also the office chair or the feral pigeon or a common squirrel you can follow. So that kind of puts your followers into perspective, okay? But if that wasn't good enough, you can become a rock star, you can become famous, because Microsoft has come out with, guess what? Yes, this is for real, this is not a joke. This is the new Microsoft employee program, which is basically you go on a show to become the next Microsoft employee. You know those reality shows, like Big Brother and that? Imagine if they invented a Big Brother with a group of developers. Oh, that would be sick. That would be just... Imagine, like in a 30 developers stuck in a house for 50 days. Oh, the thought of it. How many rooms do we have? 10. How many showers? Oh, we don't need showers. But the thing is, what's the point of all this? Anybody got the point? The point is that it's not really about us. And at some point, we've forgotten this. And we started to think that this is really about us. It's not about us so much. It's about what we do. But it's okay, and it's fun, as I say, because we do it because we care. How many of you care? How many of you are in this profession for money? Developing games that you don't get paid for, Rob? It's not working out, is it? How many of you are in this really for money? Seriously. You're a SharePoint developer? No. Okay. 99.9% of the people in this room are not in development for money, right? You do it because you care. You do it because you enjoy it. You do it because it's a fun profession. Yeah, am I right? Yeah. And back in the old days, we also used to care, and we used to do things. Remember back in those days we used to do things? We used to ship things. We used to get things done. And then about, what is it, a decade or more than a decade ago, they invented this thing called the Agile Manifesto, which talked about individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following the plan. How many of you know this Agile Manifesto? Okay. How many of you agree with it? Wow, that number's going down every time. So the first one, I'm not going to go through all of it, really, don't worry. First one is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Now, note the individuals and interactions part over processes and tools. And in order to help aid with that, they said that there's new methodologies. One of them was called Scrum, that said that Scrum is going to help you adopt Agile. Whatever Agile meant, but it's going to help you adopt Agile. How many of you do Scrum? Right. Those of you that are not familiar with Scrum, basically it's a methodology whereby you have iterations, could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months, 5 years, and you build things and then you release them and you get customer feedback, and that's kind of a circle, that's how it goes. And then you have these things called iteration planning, where you get together on a day and you plan out what you're going to do during that iteration. And then normally what happens is that the iterations don't go too well. You get a bug pop up or an unforeseen issue, and then that's why you have another day at the end of the iteration, which is called the retrospective, which is where did we screw up, right? So if you have a 1 week iteration, you get 1 day of planning, 1 day of where did we screw up, and 3 days of work. But that hasn't really worked well in a lot of environments, right? I mean, in customers that I used to do, I'm ashamed of myself now, but I used to do Scrum training at some point. And you would go to a customer and you would say, well, okay, this is Scrum, this is a stand-up, and this is poker cards, and this is that and that. And then I would spend like about maybe 3-4 days with them, go back after 2 months. How are you doing? Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, really? Yeah. Come in, I want to show you. Look at our board. Oh, that's nice. Look, we got a little Post-its with our logo on it. Oh, that's good. And we got our own little planning poker cards with our company logo on it. Excellent. So how's it working out? Well, we're doing the stand-ups. Well, actually, we sit down because it's about half an hour to an hour. But I don't know. I'm not seeing improvement in quality. Okay. Did you do all the things about what we're talking about with the cleaning up your code base and unit test? Well, you know, the unit testing thing, yeah, we kind of put that to the side because we want to get this Scrum thing in place first, and then, you know, we can't take on everything at the same time. Yeah, but you kind of need the unit testing for agility to work, right? Because everybody responds to change. Now, is there anybody in this room that says, you know, customer comes and says, here's 60,000 euros. Can you make this change for me? Are you going to say, no, I don't respond to change? Everybody responds to change, right? It's just how efficient is it for us and how costly is it for us, which was part of the thing, bring in these practices. Oh, but we don't do that net. And of course it doesn't work. And then they blame Scrum, obviously. And it's not Scrum's fault. Can anybody tell me what the problem there is? Of course, I can tell you. The problem is that they weren't certified, right? They weren't certified to do Scrum. They didn't follow the 2-day certification course of a Scrum Master. If they had been certified, then Scrum would have worked, right? Because everybody knows that after going to 2 days to a course, you can become a master, okay? But of course, we know that's a joke. That's not the reason why Scrum didn't work. The reason Scrum doesn't work is because it's time-boxed. Because you feel the pressure of time. You feel the pressure of iteration. How many of you have heard that? That this 2-week or 4-week iteration, puts pressure on you, and you can't kind of deliver. And then you start to disrupt your iteration with bugs and stuff like that, and it's not working out. We don't need this iteration system. We don't need this. We need something that allows us to, instead of kind of like push things, we pull them, right? We pull. It's a pull-based system. And then now they said, well, Scrum is no longer good. It's called Lean. And because Toyota does Kanban. And now we're going to do Kanban because Kanban is better. We need the flow. Yeah, we need Kanban. And of course, when Kanban comes in, the first thing we need is a board. Right? Beyond anything else, we need a board. And we need software that does the board. Because if the software doesn't do the board, then it's no good. How are we going to do any kind of Kanban if we don't have software with a board? But you're all in the same room. Yeah, but we still need software with a board. Why? Well, imagine if tomorrow we hire someone remote. Okay. Well, at that point, you can have the board. No, we need it now. So what we'll do is we'll write our own. Oh, we won't write our own. We'll use this, and then we'll use this. And then we go through an array of software tools to see which one's the most appropriate board. And there are millions of tools out there. I saw one the other day which was ludicrously ridiculous. Right? This is I don't know the name of it, but you get a board, right? You type in a task, it prints out a little sheet with a QR code kind of thing. You stick it on the board. Then you buy a camera that takes pictures of that board, scans the QR code, transmits it over the internet to some other office where they print out the cards and they stick it on the board. And at the same time, as it's reading the QR codes, it will update some virtual board. I mean, didn't we find anything better to do with our lives or with our time? But, you know, we pay emphasis a lot to the process. We play a lot with the tools and the needing these things, yeah? And we even create little groups. We call the Limited Whip Society, yeah? And we do little logos like, yes, we can ban, right? Of course, they should update that now where it says, well, yes, we kind of can, but we need another 4 years to actually do it, right? Because that's a play with words with Obama, which apparently says, oh, well, 4 years isn't enough. I need another 4 to kind of get things done. So it's this time box thing, right? The time box thing that Kanban tries to solve. It says you don't need to be time boxed in. Of course, from the other side, the time box is good, right? Because how many of you work from home? How many of you have a hard time concentrating on a task? Right? Or even if you're in an office, yeah? Well, there's a solution for that. It's called the Pomodoro technique. How many of you use it? Okay, so you're going to hate me now. Anyway, the Pomodoro technique is all about time boxing. It says, take a tomato, one of these timers, put it to 25 minutes, and don't be interrupted in those 25 minutes. Do your task. Fantastic, right? Fantastic. During those 25 minutes, you won't get interrupted. You do your task. And in fact, it's not a new thing. We used to, there was a technique back in the old days that was very similar. It was, I can't remember, oh yeah, it was called discipline. Yeah, that's what it was called. It was called discipline, which we now put in the hands of an egg timer. But anyway, or a tomato. But the good thing with that is that this normally tends to work. And it works because you can get certified in it. You can. I'm not making this up. This is actually on the website. You can become a certified Pomodoro master. And after you get certified, then you can enter the Pomodoro world, where you can become a user, a reporter, a writer, a speaker, an angel, a master, a player, or a team. And it's something like 2,000 euros to become a certified Pomodoro master. Right? So Whereas with Scrum, Pomodoro time boxing doesn't work, but with this is very uncomfortable. Whereas with something like getting my tasks done, it does work. Why don't we put things together? Why don't we take Scrum and add Pomodoro to it? Right? Kind of makes sense, yes? What could we call that? Huh? Pomo Scrum. Or we could call it, for example, Scrumodoro. How about Scrumodoro? That's just pushing the limits of stupidity, isn't it? Apparently not. Somebody came up with that. Yeah, back in June. 2 days before I did this talk first, they said, yeah, we're going to do Scrumodoro. But it was, what was it? Processes and tools over individual, no. Yeah, and never mind. It doesn't matter, does it? I kind of start to compare this with timeshare. How many of you know timeshare? Right, timeshare is basically, you want to go on holiday to Spain. You don't pay for your holiday. You buy 2 weeks in a complex. You buy 2 weeks of an apartment, and then 50 other people or 25 other people buy 2 weeks of the same apartment during that year. So you end up with 52 weeks in a year, and you get like 52 owners if each of them buy 1 week, right? So in Spain, timeshare is very big. They keep selling these apartments. Of course, they've run out of houses, they've run out of weeks, they've run out of things to sell. And what do? They reinvent themselves, and they now sell points. So they say, oh, you know that week you had? What we'll do, we'll convert that week to 50,000 points, right? And if you buy another 70,000 points, then you get the benefit of maybe going to where you want, actually when you want. So they keep, inventing stuff over and over again, calling it different things, saying that this is going to solve the problem. That's familiar. And if it doesn't, in our case, what we do is we create a framework, right? This is an agile framework. I'm not even going to explain that one. But this is some company that says this is how you implement agile in your no. So, whereas we were going to talk about individuals and interactions over processes and tools, we end up doing what? We get lost in the process, and we start to get lost in the tools. And everyone does it. We even do it. At JetBrains, we have a product called UTrack. And everyone would come to us and say, oh, does this have a board? And we're like, no. Oh, I can't use it then. Okay. Do you want a board? Yes. Okay, we'll go and develop a board. And then I had this really big row with the team because they wanted to put agile. I said, it's not agile, it's a freaking board. Okay, we'll call it agile board. Right. It sells. You want to sell, you slap agile today. You go to a conference and you slap agile, and it sells. Go to a conference like Agile Alliance. Every single booth has agile in it. Every pamphlet has agile in it. Today, it's about agile. If you want to sell, you sell agile. And in fact, we've even started to push this to other markets. Now we're getting marketing departments doing agile. As if they didn't sell us enough crap and bullshit, which, by the way, I work in marketing, so I'm including myself here. But now we're going to do it in a very agile way. And in software, we've actually become kind of detached to this whole agile process that we've focused so much on the agility of the aspect that we've forgotten that it's about software, right? Back in 2010, at this conference that I'm mentioning, Agile Alliance, there was like 5 sessions out of 5,000 sessions, I'm not kidding you, about code. Right? This was a conference that has its roots in the same people that came up with the Agile Manifesto, which last time I checked were all developers, and in coding had very little sessions about code. And Uncle Bob and others wrote about this. And it was all about process, all about process, all about process, tools, process, tools. Oh yeah, they said it's about individuals, but it wasn't. It was all about process. But we've solved that. It's called craftsmanship. We've solved that problem. And we've got to love Uncle Bob. I mean, really, how many of you love Uncle Bob? Really? Oh, come on. Show him some support. Now, we care about code just like we care about everything. We care about clean code. We care about unit testing. We care about test-driven development. Yes? We do, yes? Yes, because it's good. And then we start to have wars about it. Damn you to hell, you didn't apply single responsibility principle here. Right? Are you serious? Did you just check in code that violates open-close principle? Really? Shame on you. Right? And then we have the testing acronym wars, or it's test-driven development, acceptance test-driven development, behavior-driven development, or framework-driven development. You know what framework-driven development is? It's I'll write my own framework. Right? It's, ooh, I'm doing TDD, but now there's this new thing called BDD, so I'm going to start doing BDD. What is BDD? Oh, well, it's like TDD, but it's not. It's BDD. Okay. What does it do? Well, it uses different words. Okay. So, what are you using? MS Test? No. BDD has its own frameworks. Really? Yeah. Okay. So this is a TDD framework, and this is a BDD framework now. Yeah? Yep. I'm using a BDD framework. Okay. How's it going with that BDD framework? Oh, it was crap. Why is that? Oh, I need to put more English in there. So I've written my own framework. Right? So instead of should have, I say it would be wonderful if it does. Right? Okay, that's good. And now I've got a BDD framework. Fantastic. And of course, we start to spill this bullshit into other fields, right? Now, if you go to JavaScript, and JavaScript frameworks, there's a framework called Mocha, and there's a little flag. Do you do TDD or BDD? I do BDD. Okay, then run it with this flag, and then you'll get the BDD framework, right? Whereas, if you read about BDD was never about keywords, and sure as hell wasn't about frameworks. It was about communicating with people. It was about talking to the people, to the business. It was about asking the right questions. It was about the 5 whys of why do you really need this. The whole framework of given, when, then, the idea behind that was that when you're in a conversation with your business owner, with your domain expert, and he asks, I need this, given those words, you could try and find out more. Right? Given, why? What's I need this, why? What's the benefit? What's the business benefit? Who needs this? The key words there were about asking the questions. It wasn't about the framework. But of course, we say, no, this is all about the framework. I'm doing everything in Cucumber now, or in SpecFlow. Why is that? Because it's plain English, and I just get my customer to write the specs for me. He ships it to me, and I implement them. Where did you miss the part about it's about talking? Huh? I thought it was a flag on a framework. No. So now we get people that have very little clue about, or actually understood what BDD was about, creating their own frameworks, right? Now I'll just create another framework, I'll throw it out there, and I'll call it a BDD framework. Again, we're losing focus. We get lost in the wars, in the principles, in the frameworks, and not concentrate on what things are meant to be about. And that's why we get things like this, right? Which is now very extreme. Like, I'm sick of this crap. But enough about that. Let's talk about the interactions. Communication. Would you say that communication is a prerequisite to interacting with people? Kind of, yeah? You need to be able to communicate in order to interact with people, yeah? How many of you have heard this phrase? Communication is key. I mean, we always say it, right? Oh, in software development, communication is key. If this project is to succeed, communication is key. Right? It's those big words that we say. Yeah? It's the, have you heard the saying of there's only 2 problems in software, and it's communication? What do you do to improve your communication skills? What do you do? I'm asking you, what do you do? I work. You work as developers? What do you do? Who do you communicate with? Well, I'm on a team, so I communicate with members of my team. Good. What are the members of your team? They're developers. Okay. So you kind of speak the same language. Yes. Good. Who else do you communicate with? Wife. Which she doesn't understand me, obviously. Actually, the best relationships are with when both husband and wife are developers. Then it works out great. Right. Who else do you communicate with? Well, I don't really, right? And I have this problem as well. I honestly do. I mean, I hate having to talk to people that aren't in my field, because I'm kind of like, okay, what should we talk about now? Right. How many times can you say that, there's a crisis in Europe? We are introverts, right? We are. By and large, we are introverts. Would you agree with that? No, because you're introverts. And inside the introverts, there's us, and they say that introverts are bad at communication. And that is wrong. That is not right. That is a myth. And I can prove it to you. It's called Hacker News, right? You go to Hacker News, and we're very, 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 very good at communication. In fact, we give communication so much importance that we focus on a lot of important issues, like should a line end with a semicolon? This is just a small fraction of posts around should JavaScript end with a semicolon, because one guy, and Joe Crockford, had an argument at one point, and he called him an idiot, and then the whole internet just collapsed, right? Mind you, the whole internet is our little bubble of the internet, right? Like the other day I was reading that 6.5 million people read Reddit daily. But if you put that into perspective of how big the world is, it's not that much, if you really think about it. So we're very, very good at communication, and we're very good at trying to get our point across. We will write extensive documentation just to say, okay, that's a lie, not documentation. But we'll write extensively just to prove our point, to say that we are right. We're good at communication, right? What we hate is small talk. And when I did this talk the first time, someone said to me afterwards, he said, "What do you have against the language small talk?" And this is to the point that I'm sure he wasn't the only person when I wrote small talk saying, what the hell does he have against small talk? It's actually a nice language. Because all we think about is our field. That's kind of it. We're always in our field, right? And do you think ever, if you're kind of outside of that field, and this is typical with the example that the joke example that all know about, which is the spouse, wife, husband says to partner, can you nip down to the petrol station and buy some bread? And if they have eggs, buy 6. And he comes back with 6 loaves of bread, right? Because we think in a very logical way, right? Oh, you're getting that joke now? Okay. Right. Are we comprehensible? Do we think sometimes about, are we actually people that other people outside of our field can communicate to easily? Are we so, focused on getting our point across and thinking logically and not stepping outside of our comfort zone that often it's hard for other people to understand us? And you say, who cares? Who cares if other people don't understand us? Well, yeah, but actually you should, right? Because first of all, it reflects on your work. Yeah? In your code. Back in the old days, they used to say intelligent code was the one that was complex that no one could understand. Nowadays, of course, we're pushing towards code that people can understand is much better. But what about in other things that are visible, like the user interface? Does your lack of ability to communicate things often reflect in the user interface? Does it reflect that you can't express yourself properly, or that you only talk at a certain field, level, area? Does that have an impact? It sure does at JetBrains. That is from UTrack, right? And UTrack is an issue tracking system that polls this other software we have, which is TeamCity, and you can define the interval at which it polls, right? So yeah, I want to poll TeamCity every 5 minutes to see if there's any changes. So I opened up the poll interval to expect a spin button kind of thing. I got that. And I pinged the developer on Skype, and I'm like, Dimitri, what's this? He says, well, it says it. That's a quartz expression. I'm like, what the? He's like, click on the link. So I click on this link over here, and it takes me to some page, which is kind of like regular expressions combined with clock. He's like, well, that's very normal in Unix-based systems. I'm like, I said, do you realize that this is an issue? He's like, why? I said, because why do I want to go to my grave without learning regular expressions. Literally, that is an objective of my life, right? Why do I now need to learn this to say I want to poll this crap every 5 minutes? Oh, you think that's a problem? Well, damn right it's a problem. So apparently he's going to get it changed in version 12, because it's not that big of a problem for him. And it doesn't matter how many times we say it, this frustration comes out in other ways. But you say, why is this important? Why is it important that we learn to communicate with other people? Because honestly, this is things that I have talked to developers and I have been in the presence of. You get reactions like this. We don't need stupid customers. Our sales and marketing departments suck. I don't have time to deal with feedback right now. Literally, I have worked with teams that say, I don't have time to deal with the feedback. I'm too busy developing software, right? And customers make me frustrated. How many customers make you frustrated? Oh, well, there's a couple of honest people. This leads to that, because we can't drop to different levels and then we say the customer doesn't know what he needs. No, right? Maybe you don't understand him, or maybe he doesn't understand you, but ultimately there's a communication problem between the two, and one of you has got to give in. And since we're the ones getting paid, maybe we should put an effort in and try and better understand people outside of our field, outside of our comfort zone, learn to talk to people, which involves many aspects to kind of improve the situation. Because at some point, if we start to disconnect with the customer, it becomes dangerous. Because then we don't understand their needs. Then we start to develop things that they don't need, right? If you're a product company, that's a problem. Why? Because you end up with a product that no one is wanting to use anymore. If you are writing software for a business, it's a problem because it's going to cost the business money. And one of the issues that I think that is very reflecting on this issue, that we don't care so much about this, is that there's a disconnect between developers and revenue. The majority of us don't care at the end of the day about where our money comes from. We don't see the direct impact that a bug has. We don't see that. We don't see that if a customer doesn't buy the next version of our product because it's got too many bugs, that doesn't come out of our salary. Because we're not connected to the revenue model. We don't care about how many sales have been done this month. We don't care. How many of you have monthly meetings or weekly meetings or get information from the sales departments of your companies telling you, yeah, small companies or large? Small, huge, good. We do it, but the majority don't. They don't care where the money comes from. Like, I just work in an office, I get paid, that's it. My life is good. I get a good salary, everything's great. And that's when we start to lose focus again. But a lot of this, again, I think comes from us as well. Or one of the things that has a tendency to be popular is always knowledge-driven design, right? Or CV-driven design. I like this term, the Church of Technology Fashion. We're subscribed to the Church of Technology Fashion. There's actually a YouTube video, which is, you know, these two little, what are these, mimic cartoon characters that argue all the time? I don't know what they're called. But there's one about one guy defending Node. And it's very funny to watch. You know, he says that Node is rock star, badass, great. And the guy says to him, you have subscribed to the Church of Technology Fashion. And it is true. Often we are subscribed to that. I mean, look at all these different technologies. How many of you have played with all these different technologies, right? Back in the old days, Delphi was great. Delphi? You're doing Delphi now? Oh my God, you're so outdated. That's for like losers. Well, I'm actually doing Clipper as well. Okay, well, you need help. Subversion? Huh. Remember Subversion? Remember how Subversion was the best thing since sliced bread? CVS? Subversion rules. Subversion, you poor sod. Now it's all about Git, right? You know, all of them actually were good at some point. I mean, even TFS, well, no, TFS, no. But as I like to call it, Team Frustration Server, right? But we start to kind of like, oh, no, that's old news. Git rules now. Of course, Git will rule. I mean, we were actually speaking last night with Gary and Philip, and we were talking about this Git thing. And who would have thought that one day GitHub was going to throw over someone like SourceForge? Of course, maybe in 5 years, someone overthrows GitHub, and then we'll say, Git, oh God, that was so complicated. Rebase, you don't need that shit anymore. No. And some of this, of course, is social, commercial, and peer pressure. Dude, you got to get out of the Delphi market. It's dying. Yes, but you know what happens when a pond shrinks? You can be a small fish in a big ocean, or a big fish in a small pond, as they say. And if you're a big fish in a small pond, you get paid more. But of course, we're not in this for the money, right? But as markets shrink, there's more demand. That's why SharePoint pays so well. Not because it's shrinking, but it's just horrendous to work with. But there is social and peer pressure, right? It's about, oh, you got to learn the next best thing. MongoDB, that's what we're doing now. Node.js, that's what we're doing now. You're doing C#. You're doing C#? Oh, God, that's so lame. All the cool kids are doing Ruby. Yeah. No, Ruby? No, that's so yesterday. Today is Node. Well, no. That was yesterday as well. Now it's TypeScript. Oh, no, not TypeScript. That's for people that need a safety net. We're hipsters, man. We don't need TypeScript. We test our shit. Yes, we do. And when we learn these things, do we ask the questions like, non-relevant to the technology? Do the benefits outweigh the learning experience? How many of you have started with a framework on a project for the first time? Right. How many of you say that that project and the use of that framework was absolutely successful on that first project? Right. And how many of you say, okay, well, the next time I'll get it right? Did you? A little bit better than the first one, right? But what about the cost of that? Well, it doesn't matter. I learned. I investigated. Okay, good. But do the benefits outvalue what you're investigating and you're learning? We never ask those questions because it doesn't come out of our pocket, right? Well, yeah, of course it's going to benefit because the company's I'm going to be more intelligent, I'm going to contribute that knowledge back to the company. Yes, but would you think exactly the same way if you were paying the bills? Would you? And what about the legacy, which with unit testing frameworks is just ridiculous? There are so many unit testing frameworks out there. I use MS Test, no, NUnit, XUnit, MSpec, SpecFlow, and that's just in C# land. In JavaScript, you've got a whole bunch of other ones, right? And, oh, what was this project using? Oh, that was using MS Test. And this one, now we're using XUnit. Okay, what about this one? MSpec. Right. Okay, so I have to go back to this one in 4 years. Where do I download the latest version? How does this work? You go to the website, 404. What happened? Oh, well, this was an open source project. The guy got bored. He moved on to a different field. He's no longer doing C#. He's now doing JavaScript. Oh well, but it's open source. You can download and continue to work with it. Yes, but what about the cost involved in getting up to speed and the documentation, which a lot of open source projects lack? And not even open source, commercial projects lack as well. And we start to focus on these things and not think about the other issues that might cause problems. So, you know, it's important to look at these things, and a lot of times I feel that we don't look at it because, as I said, we are disconnected a lot of times from the revenue. When we talk about technology, when we talk about frameworks, when we decide what we're going to use or what we're not going to use, or should we use the next best thing, we forget about where the money's coming from. But there's a lot of people still using old technologies, still delivering solutions that are ultimately what it's about, not about what framework we're using. But that's about me. I don't have anything more to say. Now it's all good things. Now this is the part where I'm through being horrible. And Rob was saying to me earlier this morning, he said, as I said to you, he said, I hate these kind of fluff talks. I said, oh dear, and you're going to sit at the back of my room, huh? He says, no. People, stop being nice. I'm like, okay. So, but I want to be nice, Rob. So I suggest for the next 10 minutes left, I want everybody to now hold the partner's hand. And I want us to go through this journey together, all holding hands. Come on. No, I'm joking, you know. But if you think about it, we have a really, really, really interesting and challenging profession, especially if you've got one of these things on your ears. Look at this. This is a factory worker. And by no means disrespect or, you know, pinpointing to a specific line of work. But think about this guy's job or this lady's job every morning. Think about that for a moment. They get up, they go to work, they take a piece of equipment, they put it on the line, put some nuts and bolts. They take a next piece of equipment, the same thing, put it on the line, nuts and bolts. That's it. 9 to 5, that's their job. That's all they do. A little bit boring, but that's all they do. What is their challenge? They have to now look outside of their job sometimes to find a challenge. And especially in older countries or countries where they don't incentivize people to innovate or move or change professions, you can absolutely just become depressed with your job. You're doing the same thing over and over again. I say this example, working in a shop. Jobs that are repetitive, jobs that pose very little challenge day by day. We have a very challenging profession. We come to work and we're pissed off because there's a bug and we can't work on the greenfield project because we got to fix the bug. And we don't realize that that bug is a challenge. And we don't appreciate that that bug is a new experience. That bug is going to test our ability to get to the next best thing. What is this guy going to get to after he puts that chair in? To the next best thing, which is what? Another chair. And yet we bitch and moan about, oh, I've got to work with this old technology and I've got to work with this and I don't get to play with the cool stuff and I don't do this and I don't do that. No, because you're busy doing things that matter and you should be valuing that. I mean, think about our jobs. Think about what it is we are actually here to do. What is it that we're here to do? I asked that once from a customer of mine and he said, to build the next version? No. To get paid? No. We're not here for the money. What we're here to do is to help people. That's what we do. We have a job that can potentially have an impact on people's lives. Right? We do. how we develop software, where we develop software, can have an impact on people's life. Of course, we're not a doctor in an ER unit that's going to save someone's life, but somewhere along the line, our software can save people's lives. Yes, it can. By reducing costs, we increase revenue, which means that they can dedicate it to other things that can potentially save people's lives in a hospital. We can help people's lives. I was at NDC when I did this talk, and there was a talk about a helmet and using brain recognition patterns allows someone to put a helmet on and move objects, someone that has disabilities. We are part of that. We can develop these kinds of things that can help people have better lives. And yet we spend so much time self-centered and worried about, oh, what am I going to work on now? Oh, I don't want to work with this framework. And oh, this process doesn't work. I need a new agile methodology to help me. Instead of focusing on what matters, which is helping people, which is creating things that can help people and can help the world. Because we can have that impact on people. And it's a very limited number of people that can do that in this world. This is a slide from Aral, which had a talk which was about how a great user interface can make you feel like Superman. And I asked him to borrow this slide because while a user interface can make you feel like Superman, we can make you feel like Superman by creating software that can change your lives. We can enable you to do things that you couldn't do before. And that's what we got to focus on. Not on the minor little details. Well, this is the part that I came home too late last night and I forgot to put a slide in. Because apparently we have obsessions with cats and unicorns as well. I don't know why, but I figured it out. Apparently, cats are diagnosed as prima donnas. So that's why we love cats. But it's not about us, okay? It is not about us. It is not about the process. It is not about the tools. So let's try and not lose focus. And I know that some people have an obsession with unicorns. So I give you the most beautiful one ever. Yes. Don't lose focus. Thank you.